there are some things I can't forgive. It can't be an offense that I have people who are able to listen when I speak. Let it be broadcasted live. Let it be on the media. Let people see what is happening at UWC to black students primarily. In Xhosa, we say, look on Nyawulemfene. There's foul play in this.
So right now, like we had said, we have with you Solly Mdingi. Mr. Mdingi, please introduce yourself to us.
No, thank you very much, Masmelane and your host. My name is Solly Mdingi. I'm a student at UWC, a student leader, and I'm coming from the Economic Freedom Fighters Youth Command, formerly known as the Economic Freedom Fighters Students Command.
Okay.
That is quite an interesting portfolio. When did you start being a student at the University of Western Cape? And please tell us, with regards to the allegations that you are currently faced with, what is happening with that?
No, thanks for that question. I started studying at the University of the Western Cape specifically in 2023. And insofar as the charges are concerned, there are 6 charges leveled against myself by the institution, 2 of which relate to assault, and the other 4 relate to the protests which were taking place at the beginning of the academic year on the 3rd, the 9th, and the 10th of February. But I haven't been charged for the 3rd, only the 9th and the 10th.
Okay, so like I had explained to you earlier, the name of our show is Fried Up Facts. So we are not going to shy away from the real issues here. Did you or did you not instigate those crimes?
Well, I think we would have to understand the legal definition of instigating. Yes.
Tell
and
us.
the literal...
Yes,
So
I want
we
him to
have to understand the legal definition of what it is to instigate. I think I must put it on record that the protests which took place this year particularly were led by the Student Representative Council. So just a bit of a background on this. The parties, the student political formations came together. It was the EFF-SC, MKSM, PASMA, and SASCO. They came together with the SRC to say we're suspending all differences that may, for one reason or the other, politically or so, exist between the parties. Because now we have a crisis that we're facing which relates to academics, clearance and funding for students and accommodation as well. So we said, let's come together, we rally behind an SRC-led protest. You see, an SRC-led initiative that would, of course, subsequently result to a protest. And the SRC was the one leading that strike. Even the memorandum of demands that were submitted by the SRC, were submitted by the SRC to the management. So, I mean, if the SRC was the one leading that thing. So to say that one instigated, would have to understand the legal definition of what it is to instigate. Because the charges against me relate to incitement and intimidating students on campus. So one can't instigate something not being part of the SRC, but being part of the structures that are supporting the SRC. One can't be singled out of an entire collective which participated in an initiative led by the SRC. No SRC member has been charged. The SRC has not been brought to book to account for what happened. It's only myself, not even being part of the SRC.
So I just wanted to ask, right? Since you're saying you shouldn't be singled out, what makes you think that, what's the one thing that you would say, maybe this is why they're singling me out, or that you did different that other student leaders didn't do that made you them point you out?
Yes,
exactly.
That is a very pertinent question. It's the same question that was asked by my legal representatives. What is it that this student did uniquely, did especially out of the entire collective? You see, there's nothing.
Don't you think that maybe...
There's no evidence of me committing something uniquely out of the entire collective. I was singing just like everyone else. I was chanting just like everyone else. I would understand if at all they were saying, no, we're charging you for singing. Then I would be guilty as charged.
But maybe it was a thing of like, maybe they saw maybe you and the one who went in front. Yes,
or
it's
it
like
could also be through your history. I mean, we will not shy away from the fact that on your first year here at UWC, you were able to manage to get a position in the EFFSC. And that on its own was questionable because never in the history of UWC has a first year was been able to do that, you know what I mean? And also you have quite a huge number of influence because if you remember, you also rallied behind the whole election of the first years for House Comms at UWC. Like that is just a small snippet of what you do as a person, but you are quite an influential brand. So don't you think that maybe a delve through your history is what led them to think that you instigated that whole thing, and especially because you were at the forefront of it?
Thanks for that question, Ms. Melane. Firstly, I'm not a brand. The EFFSC is the actual brand. I'm a member of the EFFSC. So going back to 2023 and how I was elected at conference to be the deputy chairperson at the time, being a first year. Remember, I said I was a first year at the University of the Western Cape specifically. So it doesn't undo or nullify or invalidate my prior credentials in politics in general. You see? So I think that must be clarified, you know. And then number two, when you ask the question, is it not because of my influence or whatever, or of the prior things I may have done in 2023? Look, legally, because this is a legal case that is influenced by politics, we must look at the legal aspects of it. We must go into the merits of it legally. What is it that the student did that was unconstitutional? What did the student do that is so much of an offense? It can't be an offense that I have people who support me. It can't be an offense that I have people who are able to listen when I speak, because I'm a student leader. Politics is all I know, you see. So now this is an attempt to silence not only myself, but all student leaders who dare speak up against the injustices to which were subjected by the system. So the university is diametrically opposed to any student leader who dares take up space and say this is wrong. Because now what we are fighting for, it's not only myself, we are saying this is going to set a very negative precedent. If you are able to purge one student leader and students are quiet, it means that all aspiring student leaders, all potential student leaders are going to be scared. Even the current ones are going to be scared to challenge the system because they are going to make reference to myself and say, look what we did to that person. So no one is going to be brave enough. As we speak, I'm facing potential expulsion from the university. But there's no evidence in that court bundle. I can present it here before I can send it to you via email. You can check. There is nothing that points to me. You see, for instance, on the 10th of February, we entered the UWC stadium. Remember, all these series of protests were led by the SRC. We entered the stadium. They never gave us footage to say that this is what this person did uniquely. The charge is that I interrupted university activities and that I must account for the financial losses that the university may have incurred by our actions. Not a problem. They said also I traumatized primary school children. You know, they must produce evidence to say this is the student that you traumatized, this is the learner that you traumatized, this is what you did uniquely. So if me singing, and I was not even the one to open the gate, there were students who entered first and I entered, I was with the SRC president at the time. So they must say that this is what you did, you kicked down a gate, you went and assaulted a primary school child, and this is what you, there's nothing that points back
Don't
to
you
me.
think, just to play devil's advocate, don't you think maybe there must have been, as you just said, you were with the SRC's president at the time. Don't you think, because you said it was an affiliation of different parties, there was whistleblowers that decided to, I'm just asking.
So what's the question again?
Is that, don't you think there's some people who played a whistleblower type of energy of like, yo, this is this guy who actually instigated this, because y'all were vying as an affiliation as of some sort, you get what I'm saying? You just mentioned
Pushing
when you're,
political vendetta.
yes. So he just said that when they opened the gate, students opened the gate, but you were vying with the SRC president at the time.
And he's not charged.
He's
in this
not
case.
charged with it.
So we're asking
Do you
basically
have
the
a
question here.
person, Jill, who-
Don't you think ukuthi kukhona nje isandla semfene somewhere somehow? Because just like you said, you are leading one of the most prominent
student organization,
political
yes.
group la UWC, and it's not a lie. We would see like Isasko led one like.
Last year's
Kancane
election.
nje, you guys were just behind them, you know what I mean? So don't you think, Uguti, it could have been, and I am not saying this directly at EMKA or ISASCO, but I'm just saying, Uguti, don't you think there may have been people in that political forum, in those political forums, who may have played a backhand in the issues that are happening currently because they don't want the power that you have?
Look, in every political setting, in every political function or whatever, there will always be what we term in politics as sellouts to save their own skin. In Xhosa, we say, look on there's foul play in this. And it's not only coming from the side of the university. It's coming also from our constituents, and particularly student leaders.
Yes.
You see? So there is foul play here. You know, it can't be that one is charged with bogus charges and there's no evidence, but is threatened with expulsion. Perhaps let me take you back to court, because I appeared for the first time before the Student Disciplinary Court on the 5th of March. On the 4th of March, we met with my then legal representative, and before I changed him. We went to the prosecutor, and I was offered 2 options. The first of which being that I would have to make a plea deal. The plea deal was saying that if I take this plea deal, I'm going to be excluded from the university for a period of 12 months. Directly excluded from the university. In essence, it means that if the sentence is handed down in March or in April, it would expire or lapse in April of 2026. So I would not be able to register next year because it would still be in effect. In essence, I'm being excluded for 2 years, but they're not putting it plainly like that. And they say, if I come back, and not when I come back, if I come back and register, I'm going to have to do community service. You see? And on top of that, issue letters of apology to the university, but I would have done my time. So they then said, if I go to trial, now this is the second option, if I go to trial, they are pushing for a permanent expulsion. Then they said I must make a choice. I said, no, let's go to trial because there's no evidence. Me agreeing to a plea deal that does not even serve me, you see, is nonsensical in its nature. You see, because it is clear that the university doesn't want me here anymore. And for what?
Okay, Mr.
For
Mdingi.
participating in a student-led initiative, for participating within the legal confines of the university. Because there's no property of the university that I wore down. There's no property of the university that I vandalized. There's no student that I intimidated.
Sorry. So in the strike, there was no property that wasn't vandalized.
My brother, you study here. You have not seen any property that was vandalized.
Watching,
it was not even trending to say that this is what was burnt down. Windows here were vandalized. Remember, we're not hooligans. We're not what the university makes us appear to be. You see, we demonstrate because of the injustices that we're subjected to. The question that they're shying away from is, what led you to demonstrate? We have exhausted all channels, all diplomatic channels. We sent memorandums of demands. We sent the SRC to represent us in those meetings. But they have yielded no positive results. And that's why we said, no, let's take to the streets of the university and demand accountability from the management. And the DVC of the university, of SDS particularly, Professor Matete Madiba, on the 10th of February, came to us. Now, there was no imminent threat to her life at the time because now the protest is said to have been illegal. How do you come out of the East Wing building as an executive of the university representing the university? You accept a memorandum of demands, yet it was given to you during an illegal protest. You are not supposed to sanction that. So by virtue of doing that and you sign that MOD, means that you are sanctioning it. You mean to say that it is legal in its nature. And I said myself to the DVC that the reason why student leaders are scared to speak out against the university is because we fear victimization by proctor. Now, mind these dates. It was on the 10th of February. You see, and I was charged on the 21st of February, 11 days
11
later.
days
Yes.
after she
Now, the TVC said, no, there is no student who is going to be victimized by proctor, is going to be sent to proctor for having participated in these protests. You see, 11 days later, I'm sent there. And then on the 5th of March, when students were picketing to say hands down Solly, or hands off Solly rather, she says no, she may have been interpreted out of context. She meant to say that no student who participated in a peaceful protest, underlined peaceful, I'm quoting her verbatim. We said, okay, no problem. What was so unpeaceful about that protest? She can't even respond to that. So now the university, because remember, when the DVC speaks to us, she's representing the university. So she says that in essence, no, as the university, we're not going to charge any student who participated in the protest. So the very same university is litigating against me. So now there's somewhat of a contradiction between the university itself. But now, and I want you to understand this, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers the most, and I happen to be the grass at this stage. You see? Because I don't understand how I was the only person who was singled out. You are not even inviting the SRC to give it, to make the case to say, SRC, do you agree that this protest was led to you? There's a memorandum of demands. I can give it to you now. I have a hard copy as we speak. There's a response to that thing. The DVC is saying we are responding to a protest, to the memorandum of demands that was submitted by the SRC during an SRC-led protest. But now I'm being charged for a protest that is led by the SRC.
Damn, that's crazy.
Very sad.
So, you know, Ne, because our airtime is
Before we-
almost
yes,
shy.
I wanna give sorry her.
You wanna open the
yes,
Longi-
yes,
okay.
on the floor before we
Yeah,
just
let's
wrap
open
it,
it,
up.
and then I'm gonna ask you this one last
Yes,
question.
yes.
Okay. So my first question, now that I've heard your statement and what you said, don't you think that, because you just said right now that the SRC, they're not asking the SRC what actually happened and where's the SRC stance with you? Don't you think the SRC is avoiding accountability for actions that were created by them and letting you take the blame? Because what I potentially could happen is that if the SRC was to speak out and stand for you and say, this is what happened and this was our protest, the blame is going to shift to them. So don't you think it's kind of a situation where they are like, okay, we're going to let Solly take the blame, let him deal with it, we're going to take a step back and act like we don't know? Because a few days ago, the president of the SRC had an interview, and he kind of mentioned how the students don't understand that the SRC is not responsible or doesn't take accountability for the lack of deliverance of the university. But he didn't say that they take partial accountability, because the SRC is the bridge between students and the management,
university.
students and the university. I cannot directly go to the proctor and tell her that these are my demands as a student. So in that statement alone, there's a lack of accountability. And then it reflects on the SRC that they holistically, they don't want to take accountability. And now with your case, it again reflects that they don't want to take accountability because they fear that they may be singled out as well. What is your stance on that?
No, thanks very much for that question, Okuhle. Look, I think you've partially covered most of my response, the most part of my response. It is not a secret that the SRC that is currently at the helm of student governance, perhaps let me just say, number one, the SRC is a statutory body of the university, which is directly elected by students. Now we have a problem, or there comes a problem when the SRC shifts from being a student representative council to being the spokesperson or the mouthpiece of the management, which is
The
colloquially
mouthpiece.
known as the Management Representative Council. The management doesn't need any spokesperson. The SRC is dishonest and hypocritical in nature, in the sense that they do acknowledge that the protest was indeed led by them. They never issued a statement to say we stand with this student activist or student activism as a whole. They never encapsulated that in any of their statements. So it's a situation whereby now, no, we will let him take the fall for it. We are distancing ourselves. And this is the truth that is being kept from everyone, because this is a case of institutional and national importance. It has attracted attention from people in other provinces as well. You know, because I would receive messages to say, no, we stand with you, I'm from Limpopo, I'm from so-and-so. The SRC is very quiet about this. It never issued a statement. One ordinarily would have expected, regardless of political affiliation or whatever, that the SRC, which was directly elected by students, even if I never voted for the current people, but it represents all 25,000 plus students of this university equally. So now, there's this thing, Eddie, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. I am not deserving at this stage now, according to them, to be defended or rescued by the SRC in this crisis that I'm finding myself
It's
in.
a very critical case. But Okuhle's question took us back to the question I initially asked. So don't you think there might be a vendetta to put down Solly Mdingi behind this whole thing? But I just want to, I want to single you out now. I want to strip you of your political assets. I want to strip you of who you've become in the student movement and who you've become here, specifically at the University of the Western Cape. And even though that is impractical because you have worked so hard to become that, but as a student, as a human being, as a Solly Mdingi, you are facing possible expulsion from university. And of course, if it affects my records wako here at the University of Western Cape, it's going to affect your records wako throughout the whole nation. We know that. How are you feeling about that? What is your take on that as a human being, as
Not
a
as a
person who
Solly
is
Mdingi.
aspiring to become something better from what you were born in? You are now facing these hideous charges and with so many people against Indlela Yako, because this would have been solved a long time ago if Bebefuna. As a human being who has worked so hard to become who you are today, how is this affecting you?
Let me start off by saying I don't consider myself lucky as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked very hard to be where I am.
Okay.
I've worked very hard to be in varsity. This was never handed to me on a silver platter. I never cut any corners, never accessed the university through any back doors. For me, this is more personal than political, because it threatens my academic career and my career in its entirety. You know, I always quote the Bible, you know, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 14, says we must live in peace, you know. There are some things I can't forgive. As much as I preach forgive, there are some things I can't forgive. This is very personal for me. Because it threatens my academic career. And there are people behind this, and they know who they are. But now there's a very strong message that needs to be sent out.
What is it?
I've got lawyers who are working behind this thing. They are qualified legal practitioners. This is not going to end here. The agenda or the narrative that is being pushed by the university will not succeed. Number one, my call is very clear, and I consulted my legal reps on this.
What is it?
The proceedings of the Student Disciplinary Court, particularly the ones relating to the protest, must be broadcasted live. Everyone must see what is happening, because I've got nothing to hide. And now there's a confidentiality clause that I'm prepared to give a waiver to, you see? Because they will say that they're protecting my own interests, my reputation or whatever. No, I'm waiving that right. Let it be broadcasted live. Let it be on the media. Let people see what is happening at UWC. Let people see what is happening to black students primarily in this university. My only sin, because I believe I was profiled, that no, he's poor, he's black, he comes from a disadvantaged background, so he won't afford lawyers, he won't be able to speak up against it, speak out against the university, you know. So I'm prepared to fight this tooth and nail, toe to toe, from pillar to post. I am ready. I've gotten enough courage at this stage. I am not going to allow myself and the future generations to come to be subjected to this nonsense. It's going to end with myself.
So you feel like it's segregation at some sort?
It's not segregation.
Because I heard you were mentioning when you made it blatantly and clear, black student. Because I just saw a video of you standing with the white student who was also a victim of...
It's apartheid.
Yes, okay.
It's apartheid. It is apartheid.
Straight up.
It is apartheid. Because we're able to speak out against the university for allowing its security personnel to run over black students with an armored vehicle, that is apartheid when we're silenced. That's number one. When that white security officer here that you know, all of you know, who was trending on social media, assaulted a student, and it's not something he's done for the first time, he does it. But the university continues to empower, embolden, and immunize him against the law. We don't want that person here, because it targets black students particularly. It's wrong. So now to say that because he assaulted a white student and what have you, he's not so racist. He is racist to the core. The white student happened to be a victim at that stage. So one white student out of 9 black students, now the person is not racist, he's racist. And knows that the university knows that.
Did they claim that he's racist or...
Excuse me?
Did they claim he's not racist or...
They never said
they
he's
never
not
said
racist.
anything about
but the actions speak louder than words. Just because you continue to protect an individual. While we say, remember, there's no university without the students.
Hence
we are stakeholders. We make the university to be what it is. You see, the executives are here because it's part of their job, just because they are students. Otherwise, if we were all not to be here, they would all lose their jobs, because then they would cease to be a university. We are saying, as the primary stakeholders of this university, we don't want this person, but you continue to defend him. So it is wrong. So I think in my closing remarks, I must say to everyone who's watching right now, the fight does not end here. The fight does not end here. Because I am going to be made an example of, and then other student leaders are going to follow as well. We can't be subjected to that's more say Hitler regime. You can't now defy authority. It's wrong. Even there's a disciplinary conduct, or the new rules that have been adopted to say that we must apply for a permit in order to protest. So in essence now I must make my enemy know that at 10 a.m. I'm coming, so you must be ready. That's nonsensical. The Constitutional Court set aside that thing to say that everyone has the right to protest. So now to say that Solly Mdingi was leading that thing and therefore it is unlawful. There's no protest that is unled. Otherwise it's a circus. All protests need to be led. And in this case they were led by the SRC. So we need the SRC to take accountability, but I'm not seeking any accountability from them because they've made their position on student-related matters very clear. So now, when the going gets tough, they take a step back, and we see them
And
for what
bring
they
up
truly are.
Java.
Yes.
Sorry, if I may ask, don't you think that the reason why they feel maybe you are an instigator is in the passion of your voice? Because when you speak, I can see you getting more aggravated about the subject matter.
No, but the subject matter at hand is quite personal.
It's quite personal.
So I think I'm exempted now
So
in
can
this case.
what are
Sorry,
you-
can I just ask him
look,
this question?
the
Yes.
thing they have a problem with
Yes.
is that when I speak, people are able to
To
listen.
listen, okay.
So that is what they don't want. Unfortunately, no one can take that away from me. I was born like this.
that. Sorry, while you're still there, right? I can see that you're passionate about politics, which makes me wonder. Who's that one person whom maybe in your family may have like give you that oomph to want to be in politics, like influenced you to be political of some sort, or maybe it was your grandmother, perhaps your mom or whatsoever?
Well,
Where do you get this drive?
my great-grandmother was political, but not a speaker or a leader or whatever. Same as my grandfather.
Yes.
I don't know where I get this from. You know, my mother is a
'Cause I
very,
can
my
see
mother
the
is a very
passion,
outspoken
yes.
person, but she's not political. I'm a mama's boy, by the way. She's
Yes.
very outspoken. You know, so I
you know
think
what,
public
mama's
speaking.
boys are very dangerous.
Pardon?
They say mama's boys are very dangerous.
In what sense?
It's like,
Because you know now people are going to be watching this, so to say that I'm dangerous.
No, I'm just saying
It's
because
misconstrued.
especially women normally say that about mama's boy. I'm also kind of a mama's boy. I relate in this particular instance. They say we're the hardest men to date. So sometimes it may happen that maybe we have certain days and like we consult to our moms or whatsoever. Are you those type of people in relationships, just in general?
I think just succinctly to respond to that, I would never be with a person who does not see eye to eye with my mother.
With your
unfortunately.
mother.
Yeah, they have to see eye to eye, otherwise I'll
So,
have to cut.
so
my
you
losses.
you're that person that dates to that level now, where you have to make sure that person knows their mother.
No, not at this stage. I mean, you must see Galogu if you know this thing is serious or whatnot. You know, and then of course we'll take.
So
it to
you're
that
not
extent.
into PDA.
What is
Hey, Chief,
serious?
I'm raised by a Xhosa mother. You can't just take a girl home. You can't
PDA.
just take a girl home. You know,
Yeah.
say, hey,
What
Mama,
is
this is who I'm seeing.
serious to Mr. Mdingi?
Mdingi, yes.
Because, okay, let's just answer that first. What is serious to Mr. Mdingi?
No, remember, you must be able to coexist with someone who understands you. More especially, I'm in the political space. There's a lot of, you know, danger that comes with my line of work.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of bad things that come with my
with
line
your
of
line
work.
of work.
So the person must be prepared to coexist and live with that. That's number one, and must be able to understand me, you know, love me for who I am.
So have you ever been in a public relationship, perhaps, since you're a student leader? I always wonder, Uguti, how does one be in a relationship or even friendships when you're a student leader? Because you're always trying to figure out, okay, bazothi manje sengifavorisha laba, bazothi mhlambe se. How do you handle that as a student
I have
leader?
about-
Romantic relationships, right? Just to
I have
be in
about
particular.
3 close friends that I discuss everything with. The rest are acquaintances. And then, insofar as relationships are concerned, my relationship was private, but politics exposed it to the public. But I wouldn't want to go into the merits.
What
of
happened to that
No, I wouldn't want to
relationship?
go into the merits of that.
Oh, you wouldn't want to go
No,
there?
no.
Oh. What do you, Bushle, don't you have something to ask in regards to that?
Okay, so in regards to your past relationship, which was public, so I don't know
Against my will.
against your will, but it was public and it was very much public knowledge. What would you say? Obviously, politics had an influence in your past relationship, but do you think politics was the reason it did come to an end? And how did that affect you emotionally? And how did that affect the other party
Personally,
emotionally?
yes.
And personally in terms of politics? And was it a thing of you allowed politics to come in between you two, or it was just a thing that happened and both of you couldn't prevent it from happening?
Look, there are some things that are inevitable inherently.
Like?
We never, you know, allowed politics to meddle in our affairs. But politics forced themselves into
In
our
your
affairs.
affairs.
Into our affair. So, of
Oh,
course,
like affairs.
the affair. Sorry, it's a lack. I made it.
Was there an affair?
Sorry? No, but I would say it's a relationship.
Or it
but
wasn't an
yeah,
affair?
Yeah. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry then.
Oh,
So
I thought
into
maybe-
our
okay,
relationship.
okay.
Yeah. So politics meddled in our relationship, and it had to come to an abrupt end. It never made me feel good, obviously.
So there was no cheating of some sort, or maybe she felt neglected or
politics.
politics.
Hence I'm saying,
Maybe you were
hence I'm
cheating
saying-
with politics.
As I'm saying, just like I didn't go into the legal merits of my case, I wouldn't want to go into the merits of my bedroom politics.
And okay, that is beautiful. But then it just also made me realize
yeah, the wrap-up
that
question.
it just made me realize politics has played such a huge role in your life. And from everything that we've discussed in this episode, from how you were brought up and the things that motivate you and inspire you, to the charges that you're currently facing and how they make you feel as a human being, it makes me wonder now, Uguti, since politics is shaping such a huge aspect of your life, do you have a sense of individuality within it all? Or are you always constantly having to be a public figure? You constantly have to be this created idea of Solly Mdingi that you have created and not the real you. So, in politics, is it shaping your life, or are you shaping your life through politics?
Good question.
Look, politics has played a very huge role in my life. It's often hard at this stage, as prominent as I've become, to, live my own personal life in peace. There are some things I can't do that ordinary students can do in public. There are some things I can't be seen doing in public.
Like drinking.
No. We don't call it drinking. We call it indulging.
Indulging,
Or
getting
indulge in
inebriated,
revolutionary
yes.
waters. We do indulge publicly, but there are some things, of course, I can't be seen doing that any ordinary student would be exempted if they were to be seen. Because now people cannot differentiate between the personal Solly Mdingi and the political Solly Mdingi. That's the problem. So whatever I do is going somehow to come back to affect my political career. So it's quite difficult, The only time I'm myself is when I'm with my friends secretly somewhere.
Yes.
That's the only time I can be myself and do my things freely, whatever I want to do, Yeah. Otherwise, here on campus and anywhere where people might know me, I just can't. I have limited freedom.
Okay.
It's not nice, but it's the life that we chose for ourselves.
Okay, it was a very good conversation that we just had with you. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know this much about what is happening in UWC politics, because as you can see, I'm a media head. I just want to speak about what happened, not to be within it. You get what I'm saying? So we always have, I appreciate you coming over to our platform and speaking and telling your story. Even though I wanted us to get more, I wanted to know Solly Mdingi as a person, because we, like you just said, they're villainizing you. So it doesn't do any justice, according to my own perspective, doesn't do any justice to continue perpetuating that about you, because now it's almost like you are all, like what just Mas Melanie just asked, are you able to be an individual, a person? Is there a human behind Solly Mdingi, or is the, like, you see Steve Jobs, the man behind the machine? Do you get what I'm saying? Is there a man behind Solly Mdingi? So I wanted to get into that, but by the look of things,
there's a man behind
Solly Mdingi.
Ityani.
Yeah, I can see a man, because
We
I
thank
mean,
you so much
we thank you so
for
much
gracing us with your presence. And we wish you all the best with your current proceedings. We will make sure that we take it out there on social media and make sure that even our subscribers are following on your matter and are supporting you in everything that you do. Thank you very much, Mr. Mdingi.
And that's how we just gonna be wrapping up Fried_up_facts today with Solly Mdingi. And from me, it is Mandla_ coming right here on Fried_up_facts. Peace and love. See you on the flip side, fam.
No, it's not a wrap. We still need to do the first five.
Yes. I'm just saying the interview. Thank you so much. Even though I wanted to know other things.